Welcome, everyone, to the Fran Abrams Creative Writing Award application webinar. My name is Anna Alicia Fang. I am the Grants Assistant Manager with the Arts and Humanities Council of Montgomery County, and I'll be walking us through all things related to the Abrams application today. This webinar is being recorded, and if you registered through the Eventbrite, you'll receive a copy of the slides after the webinar is over. The recording will be posted to our website within the next week or so, and I'll also send an announcement when it's available. As I just mentioned, we're here for the Creative Writing Award. If you clicked on the Student Award announcement because you're interested in visual arts, that was actually last week, and the webinar is on our website. Let me know if you want those slides, but if creative writing is your focus, then you are in the right place at the right time. Here is a rough outline of what we'll be talking about today. I'm going to tell you who we are, we'll go over the guidelines, what materials you need to apply, where you can apply, and at the end we'll have time for questions. Feel free to type your questions into the chat as I'm talking. Just know that I won't get to them until the end. If you're having any trouble hearing me, or if I'm speaking too fast, again, type into the chat or like raise a hand or something, and I will do my best to speak more clearly and slow down. So who exactly is the distributor of the student awards? We are the Arts and Humanities Council of Montgomery County, and our mission is to, in partnership with the community, to cultivate and support excellence in the arts and humanities, expand access to cultural expression, and contribute to economic vitality in the region. Our vision is to provide leadership that sustains arts and humanities organizations, artists, and scholars, and inspires participation in our county's cultural assets. So what does our mission and vision really mean? Like, what do we do? Our main program is grants. So we give grants to arts and humanities organizations and groups in the county, as well as individual artists and scholars. We also offer marketing and communication services, but our main focus is grant making with public taxpayer funds. And with that, I'd like to start the webinar with the acknowledgement that we are in Montgomery County, Maryland, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Accohonic, Assateague, Piscataway, Pocomoke, Shawnee, and Naswaiwash people. We ask you to join in acknowledging the communities, their elders, both past and present, as well as future generations. This text is actually overlaid on the map of native lands in Montgomery County from the native-land.ca website. Highly recommend you check it out if you've never used it before, but you can search by territories, languages, and treaties. I also just want to pause and recognize that land acknowledgements are really just a step forward, but the impact is seen through our work with equity and inclusion, which takes us directly to our equity and inclusion statement. This one's pretty lengthy, so I'm not going to read it word for word, but I did try to bold the most relevant section, which is that we are committed to cultural equity within all funding activities and to serving communities that have been traditionally underrepresented in mainstream funding, discourse leadership, and resource allocation. Last but not least, I'd like to highlight our ADA compliance statement that says that all funded programming and workspaces for staff, contractors, and volunteers should be accessible to differently abled individuals and/or people with disabilities. This statement is really more targeted towards our regular grants program, but I wanted to put all of these statements together, the land acknowledgement, the equity and inclusion statement, and the ADA compliance statement in this webinar so that you're aware that these are core values at the Arts and Humanities Council and that they really do shape everything we do, including the student awards. All right, so moving on to the guidelines, which you all totally read before joining the webinar. What is the Abrams Award? This award seeks to uplift the unique and authentic voices of high school juniors enrolled in a public or non-public high school in Montgomery County who demonstrate a commitment to writing. So what does that mean? Things to ask yourself when looking at this award. Do you like to write? Do you think you have something interesting to say with your creative writing journey or through your creative writing pieces? Then this award is for you. This is really open to all juniors who think they can demonstrate some sort of commitment or passion for creative writing. This award also honors Fran Abrams, the former Arts and Humanities Council Grants Director and interim Public Arts Trust Director, who worked tirelessly to support both the arts and humanities throughout her career and encourage students to develop and pursue their creative writing practice. Again, just want to reiterate that this award is really open to anyone who likes creative writing. We're not looking for people who have the most extracurriculars in creative writing, just anyone who likes to write and thinks that they can say something with it. So who receives the award? All applications are evaluated through a juried selection process, basically a panel review, that is based on the merit of the work submitted and the applicant's commitment to creative writing, not financial need. All applications are scored, and awardees are decided based on the highest cumulative panel score. So naturally, the applicant with the highest score would be the winner. That makes sense. Applicants who receive the second highest score are also a winner. And last but not least, applicants who have the third highest score are in fact the third winner. That's right, we have not one, not two, but three winners. There is a distinction, however, in what each of these winners receives. The primary winner, the one with the highest score, receives $1,500 to use however they think best benefits their creative writing practice. That could be put towards college tuition, that could be put towards a new laptop, whatever it is that you think that you need to continue to practice creative writing. They will also get a mentorship with a professional writer and an opportunity to read their work or an excerpt of their work out loud at an award ceremony. The mentorship is very much tailored to the winner, so both the winner and the mentor can work together to create the most relevant mentorship. Maybe you as the winner are really interested in meeting local writers and knowing about what their day-to-day is like. Maybe you just want the mentor to give you really thorough feedback on how you can improve your writing. It's all on the table. Whatever it is that you're interested and that the mentor can offer, you guys can work out. The other winners, there is no distinction between second and third place. You'll both be considered runner-up winners, and each of these runner-up winners receives $750, again, to use however they see fit for their creative writing practice, and they each get a one-on-one meeting with the professional writer. Again, this is a good opportunity to ask any burning questions you may have from someone actively working in the field, or like I mentioned earlier, to ask for advice on how to improve on your own work. This is a deadline. It is set in stone, so please don't forget it. I wish I could give you more time, but as I'll explain in the rest of the webinar, we do need to set aside time for the rest of the process. So December 16th at 11:59 p.m., not 12 a.m., 11:59. So what exactly is the process? We have the deadline, we have the award notification, but what really happens? After you submit your application, staff will do a quick check just for eligibility to make sure we're not sending the panel people who live in Howard County, PG County, etc. It's just an eligibility check. And after that, we really pass all these applications on to the panel. At this point, at the panel stage, all the applications must stand on their own. So if the panel is confused about something, and it's not explained clearly in the application, unfortunately, staff can't step in. I've mentioned the panel a few times at this point. Should probably explain who they are. So I think I mentioned earlier that all applications are reviewed by a panel, and this panel is composed of writing professionals. They're chosen to represent a cross-section of professionals qualified to provide expert knowledge of creative writing and arts education. Staff make every effort to ensure that the panel is diverse in all respects, which, yes, does include gender, race, ethnicity, etc., because it's important to us that the panel represents a county as diverse as Montgomery County and is able to provide a well-rounded review from multiple perspectives. Panelists usually get around 4 weeks to read all the applications and provide written feedback and scores. They will then meet virtually, most likely in late January 2023, early February 2023, to discuss all the applications. Maryland has this interesting thing called the Open Meetings Act, or the Sunshine Law, which basically requires most state and local public entities to hold their meetings in public. So that means that you can actually come to the panel meeting and listen to the panel discussion. And when I say come to, I do mean tune in because it's a virtual panel meeting. It is a listening experience only. You and the panel are not supposed to interact in any way before, during, or after the meeting. And all of this can sound kind of scary, hearing your work being reviewed in public, but it is a really unique opportunity to hear directly from the panel on what you're doing well and maybe what could use some work, both in your writing and in your application writing skills. It's also a neat opportunity to hear the panel comment on the work of your peers, not so that you can compare yourself and feel bad, but maybe so that you can hear about some interesting things that your peers are doing, something really cool that maybe you'd like to try as well. Also, please know that we will not be showing your work during the meeting. It's all just verbal discussion. We also will not be discussing scores publicly or making any announcements about the winner during the meeting. After the meeting is over, staff write a report detailing the panel's consensus, emphasis on consensus, from their written and verbal feedback, and we give it to our CEO. Once approved by our CEO, we can finally announce who the winners are. Awards will be announced in February 2023, and from there we'll work with the winners to time the mentorship and the award ceremony, which will most likely take place in May or June of 2023. So you may be thinking this all sounds great, but how do I even know if I can apply? Students who are eligible to apply must have met all the following requirements by the published deadline. Eligible students must reside in Montgomery County. They must be able to provide us with a social security number or individual taxpayer identification number prior to receiving the actual monetary amount. They must be currently enrolled as a junior for the current academic year, 2022 to 2023, and they must be on track to graduate high school in 2024. These are all the different types of creative writing disciplines that we have and can and hope to continue to support through this award. On the side, we just have some examples of different creative writing samples that we've received. If you don't see your discipline on this list, please call me or email me. It's probably fine, and it's probably something that we should add to the list, but don't be discouraged if you are pretty sure you do creative writing and you don't see it on the slide. Just reach out to me and we can talk about it. In your thorough reading of the guidelines, you'll see something called evaluative criteria, capital E, capital C. This is the rubric that panelists use to review your applications. We have supporting activities for 20 points, aspirations for 40, and originality and creativity for 40 points. Like any school assignment, sticking to the rubric usually gives you a pretty good chance of doing well. These are just the headings, what's on the slide, but they are fleshed out in the guidelines. But really, I think it'll make the most sense when you look at the evaluative criteria with the application questions because they are directly tied together. If you have any questions or you don't understand what the criteria is asking of you, then again, let me know and we can work it out together. Some things to note about applying to the award. You can apply to visual arts or creative writing, but you cannot apply to both. Okay, so continuing with the presentation, your full application includes the completed narrative, your high school transcript, your homeschool notification form, only if you're homeschooled, obviously, your work samples and cover page, and the AHCMC reporting data. The narrative is exactly what it sounds like, so I'm not going to go over that in depth. But if you've already looked at the application and you have any questions that you want answered during the webinar, then feel free to ask away. Before I go into that middle grouping of requirements, I want to touch on the reporting data. The reporting data has literally nothing to do with the award. It has nothing to do with applying for the award or eligibility or panel review. It's just information that our funders ask us to collect. So just do your best in answering those questions. But again, know that the panel doesn't see this. We don't use this for like eligibility for the award. It's unrelated. Your transcript. Why do we ask for this? No, we don't actually need to know your grades. It's just important to make sure that you are a current junior and on track to graduate in 2024. We're not asking for official transcripts. It just needs to be legible and it has to have your school counselor's signature. If you think this will be difficult in any reason for you to get, again, reach out and we can figure something out. Like I mentioned earlier, this only applies if you are homeschooled. This form verifies that you are in compliance with the Maryland State Department of Education's regulations. If you are not homeschooled, you don't need to worry about this, and this task will disappear from your task list once you indicate that you are not homeschooled. The cover page just gives the panel some more information about the work samples. It's a fillable form in the application portal, so you don't need to worry about creating a new document. Please do list the work samples in the same order that they're uploaded. It's also a really good idea to name your work sample so that the panel knows how to find what it is that they're looking at. Basically, just don't send the panel on a treasure hunt. Try and make this application as easy for them to understand as possible. You can submit up to 10 work samples. This also means up to 10 pages total. At least one of the samples must be a piece that you'd feel comfortable reading publicly, since that is a requirement of the highest scoring winner. Work samples must be finished. That means if you wrote a poem and the last line is missing a couple words, that's because it's a creative choice and not because you ran out of time and forgot to finish it. You are not limited to one discipline, so if you write poetry, but you also write scripts for plays, you can submit work samples for both. Like I mentioned, you can upload up to 10 work samples. You don't have to upload 10. You can upload up to 10. These can be uploaded individually or formatted as one big PDF. Again, no more than 10 pages. I know this sounds intuitive, but just hear me out in explaining all these limits about 10. So for example, if you're submitting poetry, that means 10 poems on 10 pages, not 20 poems on 10 pages. 10 samples, 10 pages, just follow the rule of 10. If your work involves any sort of video, like if you, I don't know, like to write podcasts or like a radio show, anything like that, and you have a video sample to submit, you are limited to 2 videos maximum, no more than 5 minutes combined. You don't have to worry about editing down your video samples to 5 minutes. You can upload the full video or link the full video and provide the panel with instructions for which section to watch. Again, just want to reiterate that I do mean 10 work samples, so that doesn't mean 10 poems and 2 videos, that means 8 poems and 2 videos. Same thing with the pages. It's not a 10-page piece in 2 videos, it's an 8-page piece in 2 videos. If that's confusing, which it probably is, just let me know and I can help you. And again, I want to stress the work sample limits, because if you go over, staff are required to take down the extra samples, and we really don't want to do that. So it's always better to check with us first, instead of just saying, yeah, you know, this is probably fine, and submitting it. Just check with us. It doesn't take that much time. Some extra instructions for videos. Videos can be uploaded as a video file. The application portal, which is called SM Apply, also has a link feature, but it only works for YouTube and Vimeo. So if your links are for a different site, then paste the link into a PDF and upload the PDF. Do make sure that your video is viewable, as in not private or password protected. Again, don't make this hard for the panel. And whether you are using the link feature or pasting a link into a PDF, please use the full link, the link at the top of your browser. Don't embed the link into a phrase like click here. Don't use the shorthand link that you get from the share options on YouTube and Vimeo. The application portal just doesn't like them. It won't accept them. And also, if the panel for some reason is having trouble clicking on your link, it's way easier for them to just copy and paste the link and put it into the browser than having a link embedded into a word like click here and they can't access the link in any sort of way. Again, if you have questions about whether you're doing this right, just ask and I can let you know. Some writing best practices. The main takeaway from all of these points is to make sure that your sample is readable. So that usually means leaving the margins alone, double spacing when you can, using a normal font size like 11 or 12-point font in a normal font like Times New Roman, Arial, Calibri, or Calibri, however it is you say it. If your writing has very specific or niche terms, like if you have a very complex world in a high fantasy novel, it may be helpful to explain what those terms are or upload some sort of guide or key before you use those terms all over your application or your writing samples. It's also helpful if you spell out any acronyms at least once. It's not always easy to guess what acronyms are. So again, just make sure the panel knows what you're talking about and make sure that they can read your samples. If, I don't know, if like the margins or the spacing has to do with your creative choices, that's okay. Again, just make sure that they can read it well. Okay, the application portal. So you have all your stuff and you're ready to submit. Where do you do that? Everything has to go through SurveyMonkey Apply, which I'll call SM Apply for short, and that is the online application portal. The link is up on the screen, but it's also in the guidelines and on our website, and you will need to create an account to submit an application. This is what the homepage looks like. If you see something else, then you're probably not in the right place. But if you are on this page, go ahead and click on the green register button in the upper right-hand corner to create your account. Once you create your account, you'll be asked to verify your email address. Please follow through with these instructions, because if you don't, you may not be able to fully submit your application. That would be really devastating for you and me both. So make sure your email is verified, and you'll know if it's not. It'll give you a little pop-up message saying you haven't verified your email yet. Once you've created an account, you will want to click on that green View Programs button in the center of your screen. And after you do so, you'll be prompted to complete something called the eligibility profile. This is something required from all new users. All new users do it once, and it's really for our other grant programs, but It's a requirement for all SM Apply users regardless. It's really just one question, and for the student awards, the only answer that applies is individual artist/scholar. So go ahead and select that response, save your profile, and if it doesn't automatically take you to the programs page, then the next time you click on the green View Programs button, you'll actually be able to see the open opportunities, of which there should only be 2, and it's the student awards. So click on the green More button for the Abrams application. On the left-hand side is general information, all found in the guidelines. And on the right-hand side, go ahead and click on the green Apply button. Last step, name your application, preferably your first and last name. And with that, you will have started your Abrams application. So with that, we're actually going to switch gears and do a little bit of a live demo in SM Apply. We'll go over some key points in the application, and you can see me do it in real time. So let's see if it'll cooperate with me and let me share my screen. Am I sharing the right screen? Yeah, I am. Perfect. Okay, so this is my test application in SM Apply. On this left-hand side, we'll have the submit button, which is actually not available to me right now, and I'll explain why in a second. This will be the name of your application, like I said, preferably your name. And towards the bottom, you have the list of all of your tasks. All tasks, all required tasks, will have an asterisk right before the task name. And the reason the submit button isn't available to me is because I have yet to complete all of my required tasks. Something else to note here, some of the tasks have an empty circle, a half green circle, and a green circle with the white check mark. And this all indicates which tasks are not started, the empty circle, in progress, the half green circle, and marked as complete, which is the green circle with the white check mark. So like I mentioned earlier, all required tasks must be marked as complete in order for this submit button to become available. To edit any of your tasks, just click on the name, and it'll take you to a page where the task takes up most of the right side of the screen. However, you do still have access to the other tasks on the left-hand side of the screen. Much like the tasks on the previous page, anything that's required does have an asterisk right before it. And as you go through and answer these questions, if you forget to answer something and you try to go to the next page, it'll actually tell you that you're missing an answer for a required question, and it'll tell you which question it is. So remember, answer all required questions to move on to the next page. As you're filling this out, you'll notice that all questions with text responses have a character count. And as you're typing in your answer, it'll count your characters and it'll show you the maximum down here at the bottom left-hand side of the text box. Something to keep in mind is that this character count includes spaces. So if I just type in a bunch of spaces, you'll see that it's counting up those spaces as part of the character count. So if you are working offline, like in Word or in Google Docs, just make sure that you look at the character count that does include spaces. And like I mentioned earlier, all of these narrative questions are tied directly to the evaluative criteria, which are pasted up above for your own reference. The narrative is only 2 pages. While you're navigating this narrative form, please use the previous and next buttons at the bottom of the form. Do not use the back button in your browser because that takes you somewhere else. So please use the buttons at the bottom of the form. And when you're completely done with your form, you'll need to click Mark as Complete, which is what I was talking about earlier. By clicking Mark as Complete, it'll give your task that green circle with the white check mark, and it turns it into kind of like a PDF where you're not able to edit your answers. But if you do need to edit your answers for any reason after marking as complete, just use these 3 dots in the right-hand corner, click edit. If you're not on the right page, use the previous button, make whatever change that you need to make, and then click mark as complete again. Moving on to an upload task, pretty straightforward. It has all the upload instructions up at the top. Just click attach file, click on whatever file it is that you need. It'll show up here at the bottom. If you click on it, it should give you a preview of what that file is, if you just want to double check that you uploaded the right one. And once you're done, even though this is an upload file, you will still have to click mark as complete. Similarly, this is not available to edit. So if you need to make any edits, click on the 3 dots, click edit, switch out the file, whatever it is you need to do, and click mark as complete again. Oh, I just wanted to show you the cover sheet. It's pretty straightforward. Just enter in the names of your pieces, what type of creating writing discipline they are, and when they were completed. And when you're done, click mark as complete. The work samples, you can attach files, which I just showed how to do. Oh, I did want to show the link to video feature. Again, you don't have to use this. This is only if it applies to you, but it will bring up a pop-up. You can enter in your link here, you can name your video, and in this description box, you would add any instructions for the panel, like watch from 1 minute to 2 minutes, etc. And again, when you use this link to video feature, it'll show up at the bottom here. If you click on it, you can preview what that video will be. And here are your instructions that you entered in that description box. So we're going to go ahead and click mark as complete. Quickly before we submit this application, at the very end of this task list is something called a checklist and signature page. The checklist is really for your own reference, but more importantly, you do have to sign your application before submitting. And once all of these tasks are complete, you'll notice that the submit button is green and available for you to click. And you can submit directly from this page, or you can go back to your home page per se and submit from here. When you go to submit your application, it'll ask you to confirm that you're ready to submit, which I am. And once this changes screens, it'll let me know that I should receive an email within a few minutes indicating that my application has been received. If you do not receive this email, I would say give it maximum like 5 minutes. Then please reach out to me and let me know, and I can confirm on my end whether I've received the application. But I really wouldn't wait more than 5 minutes. The confirmation email is so important. If you're really confident that your application was submitted, but you don't see the email, take screenshots and send me an email. Something interesting about our application portal is that you can actually continue to edit after you've submitted an application. So you can actually submit a couple days early. And then if you needed to make some extra changes, you could keep making those changes up until the deadline. The way you do that is either directly from this page, or the next time you log in, you go to My Applications. I have a lot of test applications. You'll probably only have one. But either way, just find your Fran Abrams Creative Writing Award box. It should say Submitted, and you're going to click on this gray View button. And it'll take you to your application homepage. And from here, you can make any edits that you need to make up until the date and time of the deadline. Just make sure that whatever edits you make, you click mark as complete again. And from here, you don't have to submit again. You don't even have a submit button. Just make sure that your edits are saved. And if for any reason you're unsure about whether your changes are saved, or if you're good to go, just send me an email and I can confirm. And from here, we're gonna attempt to go back to the presentation if Zoom complies. Yes, okay, cool. All right, so some last notes before we get to questions. Do not wait until the last minute to start, especially with the information that I just told you about the submit button. I mean, I procrastinate, you guys probably procrastinate, we all do it, but let's let's plan a little. If you know that you could submit earlier and continue to edit, that's like the perfect scenario. And procrastination is problematic, especially with these next couple of points. Because if you have questions and it's past 6 p.m. on the day of the deadline, I unfortunately can't help you. Even if it's the day of the deadline during work hours, I might be tied up helping somebody else. So the sooner you start, the earlier you'll be able to call or email with questions, and the more I can help you. Plus, everyone knows the more time you have to edit, the better. Regarding the questions, there are absolutely no stupid questions. Come one, come all. Your question could be, hey, I don't understand how to submit the work samples, to, hey, I don't really understand how to create an account, to, hey, can you read this paragraph and let me know if it makes sense? I'm more than happy to help, so please don't hesitate to reach out. And the last point on the screen, please read the guidelines and instructions. I know they're not exciting, but they're really important, and you do have to read them if you want to apply successfully. Do refer to the guidelines when you're writing your answers. I know that kind of sounds like the last point, but for this one, I'm specifically talking about the evaluative criteria. Make sure you're addressing all of the things that the panel will be using to review your application. Do write clearly and avoid jargon. We already went over that. Again, a reminder that if you're using any acronyms, it's helpful to spell them out at least once. The second half of that point is to be concise, but also make use of the space provided. That basically means don't ramble, but do get your point across clearly while providing the panel with detail, with relevant detail. So if the question is, what inspires you to write? And your response is music. You've technically answered the question concisely, but the panel will be left with so many questions. So do provide them with a lot of relevant detail. Do have someone proofread your work, ideally someone who is unfamiliar with your work to avoid bias, but really having anyone proofread your work will be beneficial in some way. And lastly, do try to attend the panel meeting. It's not required, but like I said, it's a really unique opportunity. And if you're unable to attend the panel meeting, but you really want to, or you're just, maybe you don't want to go, but you want to know what they said, then just let me know and we can talk one-on-one about the panel's comments. One more time, here's the application reminder, Friday, December 16th, 2022 at 11:59 p.m. on the portal. And like I said, we do mean 11:59 p.m. and not midnight. I don't recommend cutting it close and finding out. Reminder that the application must be complete and submitted. So if you complete all those tasks, but you don't hit that submit button, unfortunately, that doesn't register as submitted. You must click that submit button. And again, a good evidence of having submitted your application is that submission email. What else do I have here? If you think you'll have any trouble with getting your application together, please talk to me. There's no harm in asking. And that last point, please don't email, mail, or hand deliver anything. We can't accept anything that's not through the portal. If you forget a work sample and you email it to us later, unfortunately, that can't be passed on to the panel. And with that, we've arrived at question time. So can I access the chat from here? No, I can't. Okay, let's stop share maybe. Here we are. Should we write a poem, a short story, or something else? You can write whatever it is that you like to write. So if you like writing poems, then I suggest you do that. If you're more of a short story person, go for it. What else do we have? Short stories and long novels have an equal chance. Yes, we do not have a preference between the writing disciplines. All creative writing disciplines are welcome. Whatever it is that is your creative writing discipline jam, that would be your sample. We're not asking for, a specific poem or a specific format. So yes, you can write both a short story and a poem that are unrelated to each other as long as that totals 10 pages. Correct. In terms of the winner, it's not a specific sample that wins, it's a person that wins. So let's use the example here. This person writes short stories and poems. They're not winning for their short story or their poem. They are winning for their collective writing samples. We have a question. If a video is corresponding with the writing submission, is that 1 or 2 entries? I would count that as 2 entries. But if you have a more specific question, please feel free to send it my way. Let's see more. Okay, so someone has a question, more questions about the samples. So this person is a little bit confused about how the samples come together and what that means for the winner. So again, you can submit for as many disciplines as you want. That's why you can you have up to 10 samples. So I know that in other writing contests, you just submit one thing, like it's one essay answering a question, and that's the one that wins. But this one is more structured around the student. So if the student who's applying has a lot of different poems that they want to show off, or a lot of different like types of creative writing, like you mentioned, like a short story and poems that they want to show off, they can submit all of them. And if the panel likes this student's writing, regardless of whether it's a short story or a poem, then the student is the one that wins. Is the panel meeting in person? The panel meeting is virtual. If you submit both a short story and poetry, can I submit them as one document? Yeah, you can. Like I said, just make sure to name your samples so that the panel knows what they're looking at. And that the cover page will also help with that. How do you submit a novel if it's only 10 pages? You will be submitting an excerpt of your novel. Is it 10 pages per entry or 10 pages total? It is 10 pages total. It would be so fun if you could submit more than that, but unfortunately the panel does not have the type of bandwidth to read 10 times 10 times 10. If 2 poems are short, can they be put on 1 page? They can be, I suppose. I would just make sure that it's clear that they are 2 separate poems. I would say just to be safe, it's probably better to put them on 2 separate pages. Because again, it can only be 10 poems, maximum 10 pages total. So might as well just put them all on separate pages. But if you really want to put 2 poems on 1 page, you can do that. Just make sure that it's clear. Is the award ceremony more casual or formal? So the award ceremony is held in conjunction with the visual arts winner. And I would say it's more casual. We're hoping to have it in person this year. We do have some examples of like the virtual celebrations that we had for our winners during these last 2 years of the pandemic, but I would say it's more casual. If you have a short story, but the short story is 10 pages, would that take up all 10 pages or one entry of 10 pages? That would take up all 10 pages. So if you have several short stories that you want to submit, choose certain excerpts so that they all add up to 10 pages. Is there a disadvantage to submitting fewer than 10 entries if the score is cumulative? No, not really. The point of giving you guys up to 10 entries is if you just if you feel like you need it. But if you feel like you have 5 entries that are really strong, you don't have to submit 5 more. Just submit whatever you think your work is strongest, and maybe that takes you to 10 and maybe that doesn't. Can I submit a poem that won another contest to this contest as well? Yeah, that's fine. Can you submit the whole novel and just tell them what pages to read? You cannot. You can only submit up to 10 pages. And if you don't do that, if you upload the whole novel, then it's up to me to delete the other pages. So just err on the safer side and just submit the 10 pages. Is there a place where you can see the work of previous winners? Yes, there is. Let's do that. I want to put the chat back to the meeting window. Perfect. Let's share this screen again. So on our website, which is www.creativemoco.com, if you go to find opportunities, high school awards, it's the first one, Fran Abrams Creative Writing Award. Here is where you have several important things. In this row of headers, you have the dates and deadlines, how to register for the webinar, which obviously just passed, a link to the guidelines, super important, how to get to the application portal, PDF and Word documents of the application template. Again, keeping in mind that it's just a template. You can't actually submit this document if not through the portal. And we have a list of award recipients. We do have a list at the bottom of all the recipients since the inception of the Fran Abrams Creative Writing Award. And we have little blurbs from some of the more recent winners. The most recent winner has a blog post. Yeah, she has her own page and a blog post and a couple excerpts from her quotes, rather, from her writing. And I can probably link all that in the chat. Here we are. Yes, I can. Let's send that to everyone. Great. Any other questions? Like I said, please don't hesitate to ask any questions at all. I'm happy to answer all of them. Even if you feel like I answered a question, but you didn't understand my answer, just ask it again, and I will try my best to explain. Could the script be for a play? Yes, the script can be for a play. And like I said, I know that the work sample limits can be sort of confusing. So if you really just want to send me your work samples and say, can I submit this? You can do that. And I'd be happy to say yes, or, you know, format them XYZ way so that we can accept them. Will I be sending the recording and presentation? Yes, I will be sending around the slides, and the recording should be available this week. It should be available this week, and I'll let you know when that's available. Yep, no problem. We do have a couple minutes left, so again, go ahead and ask away. Also know this isn't your last chance to ask questions. You can always email or call. Well, seeing some silence in the chat. We made it to the end of the presentation. I know that was a lot of information. My name, title, email, and phone number are on the screen. I answer to both email and phone. If I don't pick up my phone, please leave a voicemail or send an email. I don't know how often you guys leave voicemails at this point, but I can't know to call you back unless if I know who you are and why you're calling. So with that, I hope you guys have a great afternoon. And if I haven't made this clear enough, I want to help you. So please reach out with any issues, any conceivable issues you think you might have or questions, and I will do my best to make it happen. I really hope to see all your applications, and I hope you guys have a nice day. All right, bye everyone.